We should start off talking about what exactly factory farming is. Here in the United States, it's an incredibly popular method of slaughtering animals that boomed in popularity post World War II. It's essentially large farms that are owned by big companies or corporations. Now, the premise of factory farming is to essentially maximize profits while limiting the cost of production. Now, what exactly does this result in? Well, it results in these large hordes of animals essentially being abused because no money is directed towards maintaining their well-being, maintaining a safe and healthy environment, or limiting abuse and neglect during their lifespan before they are slaughtered for meat. We're going to be talking about a couple different animals, but I want to start off with poultry. Generally speaking, at grocery stores, poultry is sold at a much higher price if the thighs or breasts or both are very enlarged. Now, factory farmers are aware of this, and so what they do is they force chickens and turkeys to become very overweight during their stay at the factory farm. Now, this has many terrible health consequences for the animals. Some examples include overworked lungs, an extremely stressed heart, and fragile legs. This has led to a general trend among poultry that includes cardiovascular disease and sudden death syndrome. And if that didn't sound horrible enough, most of the time when it comes to chickens and turkeys, before they're even killed, their legs end up breaking under the strain of their own weight, and they either end up not being able to walk, or they kind of don't walk right and end up having even more fractures. Now, that's referring to turkeys and broiler chickens. When it comes to egg laying, there's factory farms use layer chickens. Now, for layer chickens, their whole purpose is to lay eggs, and what factory farmers want is for them to lay as many eggs as possible in a very quick amount of time, which is going against the natural process of laying eggs. So what they do is that if they have a female layer chicken, they'll force her to go through something called the molting process. Now, what this means is after that female chicken lays her set of eggs, she will be starved and shut in the dark for roughly around 2 weeks. What this does is it basically restarts her reproductive cycle, and it will cause her to lay eggs at a much quicker rate than she would have previously. But again, consequently, as a really terrible result, a lot of female layer chickens end up not even being able to get through the entire process, and they end up dying of fatigue. Because again, this is going against the way they naturally reproduce. For male layer chickens who are screened during the process, obviously they can't lay eggs, so what ends up happening is they end up being used for meat. But the way they are killed is extremely cruel. They're either smothered, they're beaten to death, or they're gassed. Moving beyond poultry, we're going to talk about cows and pigs. Cows are unfortunately also as equally as abused as poultry. When it comes to surgical procedures, in order to get maybe the hind off the cow, they're given no anesthesia or pain relief. When it comes to when they're slaughtered, they're hanged upside down, and usually the intention is that they will be shocked to death. So while they're being cut apart, they won't feel anything, but a lot of times this is not appropriately conducted. So many cows are actually alive as they are being killed. When it comes to pigs, similar to the chickens, they're forced to give birth at a much more unnatural rate than usual, and they're actually forced to get pregnant a lot of the times. So they will, for female pigs, they'll be impregnated, stuffed into a single pen that can only fit them, barely. They will give birth. Their piglets are then snatched away from them after a couple weeks, even though piglets are meant to be feeding off the mother's milk for roughly over around 2 months. The piglets will then be grown to be killed. The mother pigs will either be forced to give birth and be impregnated over and over and over again until eventually she can no longer do that, and she is eventually killed as well. Now, these are obviously really horrific examples, and it's actually a much more graphic situation that I'm getting into, But the purpose of me telling everybody this is that we need to be more mindful of where our food comes, and we need to try to advocate against this type of animal abuse that is so normalized here in the United States. Thank you.